there, it's Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. I have a really fun technique using these rollers. Now, I don't always feel like ink blending, and this is a fantastic alternative. So these are reusable, obviously. You just take apart this part in the middle, and then I just wash the foam part under some warm water and then let them dry and reuse them for any different colors. Obviously, this is just one type, and you can pick up whichever local ones are around you. I got these just from a cheap and cheerful $2 shop here in New Zealand. Then I'm going to use some Gina masking paper for this one. You guys know that I really do like the good quality of the Gina masking paper, but you could also just use some plain copy paper, would work perfectly fine too. Then I'm going to take the Pinkfresh Studios Dainty Blossoms, and I'm going to die cut out 3 of these from some masking paper. Now, you can just have a look through your stash and find any die cuts or shapes that you want to freehand cut, and basically you want to get a mask. Today I'm going to use these dies, which are definitely outline dies. They are going to get ink in the middle of them and everything. However, you can definitely give this a go with a bold heart or a bold solid image. That would work well too, and you could also fill it in with something in the middle. There are lots of different options, and this is just one way of going about this one. So I am just peeling off the back of the masking paper and then popping these images down onto a piece. This is the Recollections 110 pound paper. It's just a scrap. I'm going to be die cutting this out later on. You can see it's a really weird shape because it's been cut by lots of different bits and pieces. For this technique today, I'm going to use some dye inks. These are the Simon Hurley dye inks, and although I have 3 colours here, I actually end up not using the rosy cheeks at the top, so I just use the Traffic Cone and the Slippery When Wet. The Slippery When Wet is kind of a yellow colour, and of course when I put the yellow and the red together, it makes kind of an orange in the middle, so I decide to actually skip the pink and just kind of have a yellowy, orangey, and then a reddy. So I'm just rolling my roller back and forward on my ink pad, and I did this a few times. I wasn't sure how much ink I would need, and it does depend how juicy your ink pads are, if they need re-inking or if they're a little bit juicy and have just been re-inked, then of course you're going to get a darker or lighter colour. For my image today, I'm going to go both ways. I'm not going to just move horizontally, I'm going to go vertically as well. I just want a kind of nice even blend of colour on there, and I really love the look that these foam rollers give. I have done a couple of videos using these foam rollers before for blending techniques, but I do find that this is a nice easy way, and it's definitely a way that you kind of have to build up the colour. It takes a little bit to get a really dark, bold colour, although I would say that there is plenty of ink on this piece of paper by the time I am done. So it's just a matter of what you prefer, and you just go back and forth until you build up as much colour as you would like. So this is a really fun technique. I really enjoy this. It's very simple, and I love the gorgeous blend that you get. As I said, it's just a fun alternative to using finger daubers or to using mini ink blending tools or things like that, or ink blending brushes like the makeup brushes. It's just another fun alternative, so you could use all of those options if you were to do this yourself. Then, to make this into a card, I'm going to take a couple of ovals, and again, this is how I always create a thin frame. I take the biggest one, and I have the cutting side face up. Then I take a couple of pieces of low tack tape and slip it underneath that, and then I add the smaller frame into the center, and I will cut that out. Now I am just going to cut this down a little bit because I need to run it through my die cutting machine, and then I have a gorgeous frame ready to go. I will keep the inside of that for die cutting and stamping on for other projects, and I will use that other piece of paper in just a minute too. Then I'm taking an oval which is in between the 2 that I used before, and I'm going to use that size oval to die cut out my shape here. As I said, you could use any shape. You could just make it a rectangle, you could have it a square feature in the middle, you could have a circular feature, but I just like going with the oval size because that fitted nicely around my little focal points in the middle. Then I'm going to tack this down and run that through my die cutting machine. Then I'm going to move on to the card base. Now you could definitely just leave this plain, absolutely leave this plain, and it would be a gorgeous card. I'm creating a really simple card today, but I am going to add something into the background. So I'm using my scrap piece of paper and popping this in the middle just to protect the back side of my card. And I'm using the Minty Fresh color from Simon Hurley, and this is maybe one of my favorite colors from the line. It's quite light, but you can see I want a really light version, so I'm actually just using the smallest roller here because the other two already had ink on them and I hadn't taken them to the sink to wash them yet. And I'm putting a really light layer of ink around the outside of my border, remembering that the inside of the card front here is going to be covered by the oval, so I don't need to ink that up. I'm just double checking that I've got enough covered. Then I'm bringing in a stencil and I'm going to kind of use full strength ink, so to speak, over top of this to get a little bit of a pattern through. Now, as I said, if any of these steps are too much for you, you can stop at any point. I just felt like this was a really simple card anyhow, and so using that little extra bit of pattern in the background kind of brought the card to life a little bit more. But you could skip any of these steps or add any more. It would be fun to put like a glitter paste or something through the stencil as well, just to add a little bit of glitter and shine, but I didn't want to kind of outshine the focal point, so I just wanted to keep it really nice and simple. These are the Darice strips here. These are foam strips, and I just had a last few ones of these left, so I'm going to take off the release paper, and this way I can curve it around the oval really nicely, and this is going to pop my frame up just a little bit. I am popping them all next to each other so that it looks really clean from the sides of the card. When you kind of look to the side, you see a nice continuous piece of foam around the outside. I really like that look if I can. And with these little strips, I'm able to do that. So I pop them all the way around. And then this is the fun part where I get to reveal and pull off the mask off my ink blended piece. I really love how the foam blenders are able to get into all those little cracks and crevices in between the intricate die cuts, so that really makes this card shine, and I love how the stark white image is there. Now, of course, you could stamp an image in the middle and use sort of like a ink resist on this. That would work really nicely too, but this was just a fun option using a die and a mask. But there are, of course, lots of other fun ways that you are able to do this as well. Now I'm just going to pop this right down on the middle using some liquid glue. That is the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish. It's a really nice strong glue. I'm going to pop it in the center of my card. And then I have the Botanical Borders with Sentiments. This is a gorgeous stamp set. But I'm going to take the gorgeous little scripty thank you so very much one there, and that is kind of a nice long sentiment which is going to stretch right across the front of my image here. Now I'm just going to simply stamp this down in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is a clear crisp stamping ink, and I'm going to pop that on that scrap piece of white paper there. Now I end up trimming this with my trimmer because I want it to be just a narrow little strip. If you don't want to lose any of your image, then you could perhaps stamp this onto some vellum, and that way you'd still be able to see the continuation of the image behind it. But I wasn't too worried. I felt like it was going to be a nice skinny strip across the middle. But just when I was looking at this here, it felt like just a little bit too wide. So I am going to cut off these little side pieces just so I get an idea of where it's going to go across the image. And then I am going to cut this down a little bit more, but I also take the scissors and cut a little bit off the top and the bottom just so I can make it a little bit skinnier as well. If you guys are looking to share your versions of this type of card, or you would like to share with me a card that you've made from previous videos, then my Facebook page is the best place that you are able to do that. I can see the photos and everything that you guys post. It's fun to be able to talk to everyone, so I will leave a link to that down in the description box below. I will also leave links to any of the products that are still available from today's project. But I hope that you enjoyed this card today. I really enjoyed those foam rollers. It's a nice, easy way of blending ink on, and I hope that you give it a go. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for being here. I really, truly do appreciate it, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Bye.